Alright, so this is my 1953 Buick. It is a Special Riviera, and we are going to be working on attempting to basically knock off the surface rust. I've got some repairs that I need to make, and we are going to try to bring this old girl back to life. Some of the original parts off the inline 8. As you can see, the floorboards are pretty much gone. The rocker panels are also pretty rough, and it's on both sides that it's the same. But I already have new floor pans for it, and I also have new rockers for it. Now, last week I came out and started tinkering with the body to see, just how bad the metal is underneath all the surface rust, which obviously we have some repairs to make, but for the most part, the metal actually came out looking pretty good. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the abrasive disc and the Rust-oleum. We're going to knock this back down to bare metal. Last week I actually knocked the surface rust off of this fender just to see what the metal looked like, and it actually looked pretty good. Obviously we have a few repairs that we're going to have to make, but for the most part it's actually really solid. And the Rust-oleum is not going to be the permanent paint on this car. That's just, since I'm obviously working outside, that is just going to be to protect the metal so that I can get all the way around the car, get all the surface rust knocked off of it. And then once we get to that point and we start working on the floor pans and get the metal work done, then we'll come back in, we'll reprime the whole entire car and end up doing a proper paint job on it. But as you can see from right now, she's extremely rusty, and we're going to end up taking the factory antenna off of it and go ahead and plug that up so that we don't have any issues with that in the future. We're going to have to get some glass for it also, but for the most part it's in pretty decent shape. Obviously there's some pitting and some rough areas, but nothing we can't fix. As you can see, it's in pretty good shape. Alright, so I went ahead and knocked down all the areas that I had touched before, and we went ahead and put a little bit of paint on them. It's just basic Rust-oleum. Just playing around with the color, thinking maybe whenever I go to paint this thing in the future that I might end up doing something similar to this blue, but with a white top on it. Got it all knocked down pretty good. This was just basically to cover it, to stop it from continuing to rust. And obviously using spray cans, so there are some runs in it, and I will have to knock it back some to clean metal whenever I continue to cover the outside body. But it's a start. Big thing is for me is just making sure that we protect the bare metal so that I can get around this whole car and end up getting back to a starting point that is not going to be rusted over again. Alright, so one of the biggest issues you deal with in old cars is drip rails, especially when they've been sitting unmaintained for a very long time. This car actually came from North Alabama and was pretty much almost in the condition that you see it now whenever I got it, short of the areas where we have knocked down the surface rust just to kind of check the metal out and all that, and painted back over it temporarily. But I'm going to try to save as much of the stainless as possible, get it polished back up. The areas that were chrome that are now rusted, those are going to have to just be sanded, and we'll end up having to just kind of repaint those whenever we end up putting new glass in. Same with this window back here. As you can see, it's kind of got a crack in it too. Luckily, the front and rear windows are actually in really good condition, so shouldn't have any real issues with them. It's got, you know, your typical little bit of issues around the edges, but nothing horrible. I guess the windshield actually does have a chip in it right there in the middle. We'll have to deal with that whenever the time comes. And I gotta find a new windshield wiper because it's got the passenger side, but it is missing the driver's side.